Metro Exodus is a game. Ah, Metro, you lovely mishmash of genres. The things in Metro are found in many other games, and being a part of the post-apocalyptic RPG element shooter genre isn't a good look in 2020. I mean, how many of these games are there now? So despite being a part of a tired genre, I'm happy to say that Metro Exodus is a fairly good time, no alcohol required. Most of the time.
Dude, his hat. Killed him so quick, his hat left.
Metro is different from all that other shit purely for one good reason. It is really immersive on your first playthrough. The game does its best job to smack the shit out of you if you're not careful. You gotta conserve bullets, conserve health refills, conserve air, conserve green glowing mushrooms that you use to make those health refills.
Drugs.
Metro is all about trying to perfectly and efficiently navigate its world, linear or semi-open in the most ammo-hungry manner possible. Cause you'll never know when you're going to miss a headshot on a watcher, and then have him and all of his cousins suddenly barreling down to crack your head in. But before we jump further into that, let's rewind a bit, and I'll tell you all about Metro. Metro is a series of games based off a series of not games. The setting? Well, when the nukes were nuking, the only safe place was the metros of Moscow. And now, the only survivors that we know of all live in those tunnels. The locals on the surface, now mutated and ugly enough to kill humans, keep ganking them in the metros. After 2 games and a lot of stuff more interesting than what's to come, we find ourselves at Metro Exodus, where we discover that the world wasn't all doom and gloom, but rather, almost all doom and gloom. In an escape via railroad, you and the boys find yourself on the most unforgiving road trip ever brought to the Epic Games Store. Metro Exodus, the third in the trilogy, is another linear go-from-here-to-there style game. Despite what the trailers want you to believe, the game is not open world, it just has 2 big maps and 2 levels. The story of Exodus is a good enough vehicle to get you from A to B. It's got ups and downs, and honestly they're goofy as hell with the over-animations and the voice actors mainly just consisting of Alucard from Hellsing and Jaraxxus. I swear, these 2 inspirations of mine carry the entire game.
This is no Moscow where you could loiter outside for months. Who knows what monsters live here?
Jameson Price does Colonel Miller, and Crispin Freeman does like 90% of all the human enemies.
Let's get one thing clear. You'll never have a chance anyway.
And this crazy guy.
Perhaps we should offer him our hospitality, Admiral, sir.
God, I love him.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Visuals, they're fucking gorgeous. You just saw the opening I did. The game's got style. It's really beautiful at almost all times and really helps with the immersion. Watching how much air you have left whilst water droplets condensate on your visor as you trudge about in some far-off place, cut off from help and with only yourself to rely on is what Metro does best. Combine amazing sound design on top of that, and I really start to slip into the world. Survival requires a little bit of prep and frequent monitoring of how many numbers you have left. Lacking one of these numbers causes you to make different decisions based on what you were expecting, which is dynamic gameplay. Exodus succeeds and fails here, but more on that later. Now combine all of these amazing parts with the guns of Metro and you have a recipe for greatness. I mean, fuck me, the guns have got a weighty, meaty thwack to them. Take the revolver for example. Now that's good sound design. The guns of Exodus give the game most of its identity. The Kalash is one of the best looking Kalashnikov style weapons I've seen in a game. Somehow I've seen games fuck their appearance up in the past, but Metro just gets its design and feel right. And then they even offer a bullpupped version which can rail me anytime. The sniper in Metro is nice, but practically useless when you consider the TR, a weapon you can't drop like the others as it's your mainstay, a pneumatic rifle that fires ball bearings and remains suppressed. It's a sneaky Breaky's best wet dream with a scope on it. Goddamn satisfying to use, and the ammo is craftable at almost all times. I mean, I'd be very surprised if tiny hunks of metal would never not be readily available. It can even fire incendiary capsules. The other gun that uses the revolver's ammo is the Bastard, an SMG of sorts with a weird bootleg magazine. But it's, look, it's just shit, okay? More on that in a sec. The shotguns are practical, useful, and built to shred. It's a shame that the double barrel just isn't the same as it was in the previous games. That shit used to give me gun envy. There's something about double barrel break actions that really activates my almonds, and this style just doesn't do it for me. The Shambler, on the other hand, is gorgeous looking and is peak Metro in design. The things about the guns in Metro is that they all just had the right level of being fucked up in nature or made in someone's backyard with random equipment to be a true believable weapon in the post-apocalyptical future. It's uniquely Russian, uniquely homemade, and even practical for the setting. I mean, look at the crossbow. It's got such a nice, just fuck my shit up appearance. But its usefulness is incredible, which is the game's biggest and strangest downfall. Most situations you'll find yourself in when it comes to Exodus favor the scalpel over the chainsaw in approach, especially if you want the good ending. Killing the unclean and the vulgar most of the time is optional unless you provoke them too much. One mutant type has a lot of armor, requiring more bullets but can just be avoided. Human enemies require only one headshot or one good bullet in the chest, and humanimals are almost the same. Lurkers you just go around and you'll barely ever fight a demon if you have half a brain, and that's it. The things I've just listed are all reasons to conserve ammo and spend it wisely. Running the Bastard is an advanced level stupid idea, as it uses the same ammo as this beauty. I run the Kalash-style weapons most of the game as backup weapons, and I never had an issue, especially seeing as the ammo is mostly plentiful and very bootleg. So this weapon is just wasteful when I have a better replacement for it, and evolution. The shotguns are great alternatives to the revolvers, as they kill almost anything really quickly up close, and the double barrel's reload speed is so fast that it's honestly close enough to automatic that the Shambler with its wider choke and shorter range seems wasteful. The sniper is especially whack, as the ammo isn't literally everywhere, and at close range doesn't always one-tap a person. Something the revolver can do. Its ammo is more expensive, it takes up one of your two optional weapon slots, and is completely useless compared to its lower powered, more efficient cousin the TR. Aiming for the head with both guns has the same outcome. One just makes you feel like you're pissing bullets away, and the other doesn't even use bullets, and is silent. And is fun. Later on, you're forced to take an alternative to the TR, and it's a welcome one. But if you're like me and you can't stomach not getting the good or best ending, you'll barely use it. To get the good ending, you can't kill people who have surrendered, and you can't kill people who are just going about their lives that you're intruding on. You can't make morally bad decisions.
Wait. That's bad?
Even though mercy killing this man who's been burned badly enough to slowly die is considered a bad thing. Well, time to reload that whole save and do it all over again. Fuck me. Yeah, so getting the good ending at times is arse, and having weapons that you want to use is great, but being without situations or people to use them on readily makes it equally arse. Whew, okay, let's take a step back for a second from that strange bout of bloodlust. Look, when you get the crossbow, you get less than 10 fights or so to use it in. Most of those fights can just be done with any other weapon that you have access to as well. Shortly after getting the crossbow, you'll get the railgun for the ending of the game, and then it's like, well, there goes that cool and interesting idea, and there's so much of that shit in the game it just blows my mind.
Did you see that?
A lot of great but unfulfilled ideas. Sure, you can use the crossbow from the start if you do New Game Plus, but what's the point? You have almost every attachment by then, and a fucking railgun. It's a shame because so many of the guns are so ingeniously designed, but just either aren't useful or not available enough. The worst part of all of this is that if the game didn't have these stronger alternatives, then it might have been harder and better. The same can be said about the mutants. They die too quickly most of the time, and really aren't much of a threat. And humanimals are just zombies. Get your fucking zombies out of my Metro game. I played the game twice for this review on Ranger Hardcore, and one of them was with no HUD whatsoever. To get footage for the opening and encountering everything a second time helped me take off my rose-colored goggles and notice the cracks.
Headless T-posing man, top text, bottom text.
And even then, the game was way too easy with all this powerful stuff. The things in the game that fucked me over wasn't the fighting, it was the mechanics. It was needing to load a save over and over again just because you were spotted and wanted the good ending.
I see the intruder!
I even reloaded one time because I knocked a guy out and his body fell into water, and I wasn't sure if it counted as killing him. And with some of the jank the game's got going on, I didn't want to risk it. Speaking of, this game's got 2 DLCs. Well, just one really. The first DLC, The Two Colonels, is almost just a really big cutscene, with a little bit of gameplay sprinkled here and there. And what we get is boring as hell. I would have just preferred another epilogue or cutscene, not $11.50 for a DLC with recycled enemies.
Hey, it's Crispin Freeman again.
to live out our lives.
Crispy Freeman!
God damn, the Frozen Throne or Shivering Isles would be crawling in their graves if they knew what puberty did to expansion packs. I didn't have time to play Sam's Story, the other DLC featuring Steve Bloom and Steve Bloom and Steve Bloom.
Please, let's not repeat the last time. Steve Bloom.
Level design in Exodus is so all over the place, you think it was designed by a child who got bored partway through and said, fuck it, you fix it. And now you've got to put all the pieces together somehow. I'll explain real quick. Tutorial. It's a shooting gallery with sneaking options. Level 1. Geniusly crafted map with many interesting locations that are all worth visiting. Some optional locations provide upgrades to guns and equipment, and others are story progression related, and they all coexist together in this one map, and it's really well done. The mutants here for the most part have very dynamic mechanics, giving you lots of options for engaging in decision making. Unless you're fighting fucking zombies. Level 2 is... it's a shooting gallery. That's it, it's just a short shooting gallery that's longer than it feels, but it gives you your next heading, and you're off to level 3, which is a lot like level 1 if you took all the fun out of it. Out of the 4 enemy types found here, there's really only 2 that you'll normally encounter. Fucking basic as fuck zombies! And other humans. The demons are there, but I can count on one hand how many times I've fought them in my total 3 playthroughs.
I can die.
You suck!
And another enemy that's technically found at this level, but let's be honest, this part might as well be its own thing. Cause the goddamn spiders do such a great job of making me want to commit or die that they deserve their own recognition. A few hundred dead humans and dead human affiliates later, and level 3 is... left in the dust. Level 4. It's another linear level, and it's really well done. You'll spend most of your time in this one sneaking or killing depending on the ending you want. You find a boss that makes Risk of Rain's 2 bosses look complex, kill some more spiders or literally just run past them like you're in the Tomb of Giants, and that's level 4 done. It's got a lot of good and interesting ideas in it, but with the shortness of the level and the lack of a dynamic open world to naturally encounter these big brain ideas in, just makes it another shadow in the light of the first level. Level 5 is another linear level with newer enemies, but it's likely the easiest part of the game, and then that's it. Game over. I remember adoring this game when I first played it, and I still really like it now. But now that I know how the game functions for the most part and the way it's broken up, it's just left me kinda disappointed. So many good ideas wasted or not fully realized. So, where did it all go brokey?
Brokey.
Well, I'm not quite sure, but I can speculate a bit. By looking at the early trailers. In this one, it's all quite clearly just a tech demo, but the showcasing of level 4 makes me think that it was supposed to be a map like the Volga. The fact that the dogs from the same level are in this location too, and not quite literally just one area of the map, makes me think that you could have encountered them almost everywhere. It always struck me as odd that they were designed with what seemed like an intriguing roaming pack of dogs that only existed in the game for maybe 10 minutes at most. 5 if you know what you're doing and just walk to the end of their part in level 4. This gorgeous looking metro tunnel isn't in the game, you don't encounter watchers here, and instead it's the spiders, and like I said earlier, you can literally just walk past them. And look at that map! There's definitely something more planned for level 4, and I believe Exodus as a whole. But for whatever reason, you just don't get that. It makes me honestly disappointed. Thinking about it now, it all kinda makes sense. If this map is what their levels were originally going to be like, then holy shit, that'd be awesome. I mean, there's even a misplaced mutant model of an Asalis, and its appearance is exactly the same as it was in prior games.
What the fuck is that?
It's just floating there. I mean, look at it. They call them moles in the final level Nasalis, but this is clearly closer to the original design that the other games have. And it wasn't patched out or explained. It's just floating there. Menacingly. There's so much more random shit like that in the game too, like how there's random laughter playing at certain times. Then, being able to alter your weapons and give you more options than you know what to do with, mutants that are awesome but barely interact with more than a handful of times each, and a rush level 2 and 5. It all makes me think that Exodus was meant to be something more than this. I mean, you only have to look at the totally strange, almost unexplained tea party with the Admiral. It's just weird. Out of nowhere, you meet this character in a building surrounded by mutants and he's just chillin', talking to his 2 corpses. You can sit, drink with him and listen, but that's it. I figure that he might be important or something if the 4th level looked like it does on this map and not this one. He'd be a quest NPC in any other open world game, but here he's just sitting there. He has a place in the journal entries, but outside of those, he's pointless and offers nothing. Yeah, I don't get it at all. The game is still lovely despite all that. I had a lot of fun playing it.
He just...
although I do wish they covered more of the dark ones from the previous games and maybe even covered more of the spooky shit. Maybe with Khan. I mean, he appears in the bad ending. Oh yeah, Metro has a bunch of supernatural stuff in it. The only explanation is that there is none. It's just there. Also, anomalies are in this as well. Apparently, everyone in Russia loves Stalker 2. Metro is a really immersive experience. You have to play it the way the game wants you to though, or you'll suffer the ramifications. Ranger Hardcore is the only difficulty that offers a challenge, and if you can't beat that, you're a games journalist.
Wow, this guy's smart.
I mean, the supposed hardest enemies in the game, the thing that you're supposed to avoid and sneak around, can be killed quite easily with the railgun the game just hands you. Fuck, bzz, bzz. There's a lot of really comfy stuff here that makes you care about the characters, even if they are goofy to a fault. Or poorly voice acted.
Private mission acknowledged.
I recommend Metro Exodus if you like this genre of game, but what I'd recommend more is playing all of the previous games first. I know I talked a lot about bad stuff, but it's still a good game. It had me in tears at the end, even though I already knew what was going to happen when I finished it. I hope Sam's story is good enough, different enough, and long enough to warrant a review in the future. And one last thing, a lot of what I said is from my own experience. If you want to shoot everything you see and get the bad ending, your experience will be vastly different to mine. You'll kill more with the crossbow. Maybe the automatic nature of the bastard is more useful than the high damage precision of the revolver, etc, etc. Either way, there's some special things in Metro Exodus that I won't forget and some dumb shit that I did until I played it again. I only said what I said about Exodus because I love it so much. I want it to be its best version. If Metro Exodus, Fallout 4 Frost mod, and maybe even a game like The Evil Within 2 all combined together to create an open world game, I would play the shit out of that. And if Tarkov had mutants roaming the map to make AI encounters better than fucking scavs, I'd also be in love. You know what? I think I just like immersive Russian games. I mean, I've enjoyed every single one I've played. Stalker review never, by the way. But Atomic Heart, now that looks interesting. Thanks for watching my video. I'm so glad you could join me. I'm going to be doing a channel trailer and releasing it alongside this. It's just going to be me fucking around and giving you viewers a quick snapshot of what I do or want to do. Honestly, it's just a quick vlog with a funny attention-grabbing opening. Unless it's not funny at all. Shit. It's a shame because so many of the guns are ingeniously designed, but it just isn't either. Bleh.